In this video I'll be showing you how to prepare the fabric for the collar and attach it to the shirt. So both of these pattern pieces are going to be cut on the fold. So I'm folding the calico on the grain line and then putting the fold section of the pattern piece right on top of that fold line and then pinning it in place. I'm going to cut two of each of these, but because they're on the fold I'm going to cut them out one at a time. So I've got two collar pieces and two collar stand pieces. I'm going to cut out the interfacing as well, but cut off the seam allowance. And then that's been pressed on. So the first part I'm going to sew is the collar itself. So I'm pinning around the edges that I'm going to sew, and the bottom of it I'm going to leave open. So I've stitched this 1 centimetre seam allowance all along that edge, and then using my small scissors I'm cutting off the excess around the corner. And then using the sleeve board I'm going to press those parts open. So by pressing the seams open now before we turn it round, it will make sure that the edges are nice and crisp when we do turn it through. So that's the collar, turn the right way round. So now I'm going to attach the collar stand. So I've got a notch where the centre back is. And then I'm pinning the collar all the way along the top of that. And then I'm doing the same to the other side. And then I'm just putting on the other side of the collar stand and transferring the pins over. I could pin the collar and both sides of the collar stand all in one go, but it's a bit tricky trying to manage 3 different pieces of fabric, so I prefer just to do one at a time. So I'm just going along making sure that all the edges are matched up exactly. And then once I've done that, I'm going to sew 1 centimetre all along that edge. And then using my small scissors, I'm going to cut off the excess fabric around the corner. Making sure you don't go through your stitch line. And then when I turn it through, you can see I've got the collar and the collar stand ready. So now you just need to attach it to your shirt. So I'm making a notch at the centre back at the bottom of the collar stand. And then placing that notch at the centre back of the shirt. And then I'm going to pin that all the way around to the front and stitch along that line. So I've pressed up the seam allowance on the other side of the collar. And so that folded edge of the collar stand, I'm going to fold it down so that it meets the stitch line that I did before. And this is the outside of the shirt. If you don't want to see any stitching on the outside of your collar, you could do this part by hand. And then just to finish off the other end of the collar that doesn't have a shirt on it, I'm folding it over and I'm going to stitch right along the edge, along there. So using the inside part of the foot of the sewing machine, I use that as a guide and stitch right along the edge.